started as strangers, coming together in the heart of Kentucky at the Beaumont Inn. It has become an annual pilgrimage for friends from around the world.
Welcome to Whiskey Weekend, everybody.
Community has always been at the center of everything the podcast represents. And while you may have come for the whiskey, you'll take with you family that will last forever. Friends, it's time. This is Whiskey Weekend.
Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I'm Will, and I am solo here tonight, so I decided I would do another fun call-in show a la Whiskey Advice Live that I did a while back and Grease did with me. But yeah, so it's just me this time. So you can go ahead and call in if you want to talk to me on air at 270-612-2275. That is 270-612-CASK. And I thought I'd theme it as, what is your whiskey wish list this holiday season? We know that it is allocation season, whether you're in a bourbon club, whether you are in your own, whether you go out hunting, whether or not you try to bundle some money with friends. But you can go ahead and call if you want advice about what you should be hunting this season, or if you want to just go ahead and tell me what you're interested in. Natalie here said that Wild Turkey Unforgotten is on her list. I'm glad that I've got the Wild Turkey hat represented here tonight, but hopefully folks will go ahead and call in at 270-612-2275. It's a lot of fun when you participate. So hope to see those phone calls coming in here shortly. But while I'm getting ready for that, I did want to talk about Whiskey Weekend a little bit and mention that if you have questions about that, you can go ahead and call the number below as well, 270-612-2275. I'll try to answer some stuff on air. And since Grease isn't here with me tonight, maybe I'll spill the beans a little bit on some things we have planned. So once again, go ahead and call in. It's a lot of fun, and I'll start getting to those as they come in. We have a comment here from Luke Cobb on YouTube. He said, E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof is my hope this season. I think that's a really smart wish list whiskey, because it's hard to get. It's not an easy one to just snatch up on your own, but I feel like it's a little bit more attainable than going George T. Stagg or William LaRue Weller, that you may have a little bit more of a chance of snagging one of those E.H. Taylor barrel proofs than you do one of the BTAC collection. And I mean, depending on the store, it's probably going to be priced a little bit better, even if it is at an elevated price. You may be able to snag that one a little bit better than if you were to go for a BTAC or something. So also, because I am going to be solo, you'll see me probably sipping a little bit more water than normal this evening. But I thought I would I would go ahead and open up one bottle that I've been going through. This was one that I always look for every hunting season, every allocation season, because it is a little bit easier to find than BTAC or Pappy or some of those, but it's the Four Roses LE. So I got last year's, the 2021, in the whiskey club that is no longer a whiskey club, but it was the final year of a whiskey club we were in at Red Dog. And it was one I always went for. A lot of times there was a significant yield. They'd have several cases. So even if my number was drawn later in the first round, I always kind of gunned for this because I knew that I would probably have a good shot at it. So this is 2021. I actually took this to the Barn Night Live, and that was a lot of fun. Joe B took a 2017, I think. I took the 2021, so his was a few years older than mine. But it always is one of my favorites. I love the profile of Four Roses whiskey. I love the flavors that come out of those. So being able to pick up a Four Roses LE is always at the top of my list. It's not something I'm able to get every year, especially now that there isn't that bourbon club that I've been a part of. It may be a little bit more difficult for me to get my hands on. And actually on Friday, a local store did an Instagram drop, like the old days that I haven't seen done in years because clubs were more prevalent and giving them to the higher buyers. But it was in the drop, and I had to work late on Friday, and so I wasn't able to make it over and snag one of those. But I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe it was just put out on the bar, and it seemed like it stayed up there for a little bit of time, a lot longer than I would have expected. And actually, I probably would have been able to make it there in time to get it. But I thought that was pretty cool. That seems like some stores are maybe going back to their old school method of just doing a whiskey drop, just saying, here you go. That's also a question. Do you think that if more stores go to that and don't necessarily go ahead and raise the price, or they don't have a club, does going back to that older method of just dropping it on the shelf, is that something that we're going to see? Is that a divisional shift, as it were, of people going back to a different way of doing it? And does that also mean that potentially the demand is wavering? I don't know. I'm curious about your thoughts on that. If you want to go ahead and talk on that issue or any of the issues I talked about before, what you're looking for, what you're hunting for, if you want advice, or if you just want to say something ridiculous, you can do that, or you can ask questions about Whiskey Weekend. Go ahead and call me at 270-612-2275. That's 270-612-2275, and it will do a screening process. Like it's an AI thing. You basically leave a voicemail, and it will try to give me as much info as possible, and then I'll be able to go ahead and pull you up on air. So go ahead and call me at that number, 270-612-2275. And I look forward to speaking with you live on this YouTube podcast broadcast show. So, I've got a call coming in. It looks like it's probably being screened right now. So I will wait. And the person skipped the auto screen. They're calling back. This is great. Love it. Love the way this is going. So there's a caller coming in right now, but you can go ahead and get in that queue as well at 270-612-2275. It's at the bottom of the screen too. So I'm not going to keep repeating it, but I will keep reminding you to go there. Parker's Heritage. Our buddy Chris is interested in picking one of those up this year. I think it's a double barrel this year. So it's like a 13-year-old bourbon and a 15-year-old bourbon that they blended. It's a pretty interesting concept. I like that. I haven't really gotten into the heavy chars that they've done. They did a bourbon and then a rye the last couple of years. And I don't even think I had the bourbon. I had the heavy char rye, and it was good, but it wasn't something that I really, really sought out like I had kind of in previous years. Let's see. This is Luke Cobb again. He says, made very good friends with my local hunting hole owners, and he says he should have me one mid to end of November. That's awesome. And that's the way to do it. If you can get what you're looking for, which in your case was E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof, I think that's a great way to go ahead and make the connection. And that's one that I feel like there maybe, it's not like Pappy that they're like, maybe I'm going to have to put it on the shelf or figure it out. It's a good one to angle for. Natalie said, referring to the Four Roses that I poured, she uses pick of Four Roses as a favorite in a blind tasting. So when Natalie is tasting something blind and she gets something that she really likes and she doesn't know what it is, a lot of times it ends up being Four Roses because she is a smart lady. All right. So we've got, let's see. It looks like Roger Randall is the name. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on air. Roger, you are on the podcast live. How you doing, my friend?
Really good, my friend. How are you?
Doing well. What can I do for you this evening?
Well, I was kind of going through my wants and hunts for the fall, as I call it. And actually this last weekend was very good because the raffles and all those type things that you enter with your local shops and keep close. I picked up the C922, the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and the Larceny C922. They were kind of on my list for for the fall. And then the other piece I found out is I had 2 or 3 local shops that are going to get Four Roses picked, and they're going to have maybe some LE bottles available for those.
What part of the country are you in?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Awesome. I think that I almost feel like a Four Roses single barrel pick at this point is like striking allocated gold because there's so few and far between. So if a store at this time of year was like, hey, we got Four Roses single barrel proof in, I'd be like, okay, that's like a win for me. Do y'all see a lot of them around there still, or is it still kind of few and far between?
It's few and far between. We had one local store here that had them. Allocation didn't last very long because they had about 4 or 5 stores. Fortunately, it's just good to stay with some of the smaller stores because when they get one, they remember you, they know you, and they tend to go a little bit longer. You know what I mean? When they're dropped. So I've got 2 stores that actually they got both of their picks, which is amazing to me, like you said, and look forward to getting both of them. I think it'll be fun. I've been talked to the group that picked on the first on both of them, and they had a blast and thought it was a really good process. Those are the ones I like. The barrel proof ones are the ones I want to try to hunt up because, like you said, they're allocated gold. They're a lot harder to find lately.
Right. Yep. I totally agree. And back to the ones that you were able to pick up. Have you opened either the Larceny or the Elijah Craig barrel proof yet since you picked it up?
Yeah, I couldn't resist. I had to pop both of them and had put them in the glass, let them sit for a little bit, and then went back to it. And the Larceny was a caramel bomb. And it was funny when I said it, and then tonight I watched somebody else that did a review on it and said the exact same thing. So I don't think I'm alone in that, but I thought it was a lot better. It was a lot better than I was kind of thought it would be, and it was very, very good. The sea batch on the Elijah Craig was fantastic. You just had to let it sit in the glass a little bit, get out of that neck pour. Don't let it get a little air, but it was amazing. So looking for a backup bottle on that one.
Yeah.
If I can find one, but if not, I'll be happy with the one I got.
I'm hit or miss on those Larceny barrel proofs, and the way you're describing it as a caramel bomb, I'm going to have to try to hunt this one, or at least find a friend that's got an open bottle that'll let me wheeze a little bit of that out of it, because the caramel bomb in Larceny sounds delicious to me. So I like that.
It is.
Well, very good. Well, I'm going to try to find that. And Roger, thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna drop you here.
The show.
Yeah. Keep watching, and thank you so much for tuning in and be the first caller of the night. So you have a good one. And folks, if you want to join me as well, call 270-612-2275. And my buddy Preston Adcock here says, really haven't been into hunting this year, mainly focused on great barrel picks and more off-the-shelf bottles. So, Preston, what I want you to do is call the number below, 270-612-2275, because I want to get you on the show here, and I want you to tell me what barrel picks you're really into and what off-the-shelf bottles you're into, because I feel like a lot of people are in that space this year as it gets harder to find the allocated stuff. More things are allocated. There's more people that are into the hobby than ever before. And I feel like less stores are doing things like clubs and raffles and stuff because the headache of how many people are trying to get into it. So, Preston, I'd be interested in your thoughts on what you're going after these days. So go ahead and give me a holler. And I've got Troy on the line right now. I'm going to pop you up. Troy, how's it going?
Hey, Will, how you doing?
Is this Troy Couts?
This is Troy Couts.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I don't know. I'm having technical trouble as usual. I've turned off my TV sound. Is that what you recommend?
Oh, I didn't know that. I couldn't hear your TV sounds, but you do whatever.
Oh, anyway, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You just got back from Utah, though, right? Are you back in Ohio?
Yep, just got back about an hour ago, and I would say probably my number one holiday list is a wider airplane seat. But other than that,
So
Life is good.
you got to go out and visit Jason and Natalie and hang out with Corey and Conway. And was one other person there, or was just you? It was just three of you?
No, that was just us. Yep, Corey, Conway, Jason, and Allie. But,
And
yeah, it was
there
nice,
were some
4 days.
beautiful,
nice visit.
sexy men in flannel shirts in the Utah November snow that I got to see in a text thread. So that makes me really happy. And what was the best thing y'all did other than just hang out and stay up too late drinking whiskey?
Oh, yeah, we did a lot of whiskey drinking, but we got to go to High West and look around there. I've never been there before, so that was a treat. And Conway insisted that we all wore flannels all the time, and I didn't pack enough, so I had to wear one of Jason's flannels. And you don't know what friendship is until you're in another man's flannel. You know what I mean?
That needs to be a T-shirt for the flannel panel. Which folks, if you don't follow the flannel channel on YouTube, they're live every Wednesday night, roughly around 8 p.m. Central Time, so 9 Eastern, roughly the same time that we're live. Sometimes it gets bumped 30 minutes either way, but it's Troy, it's Jason, it's Corey, it's Ian Campbell, it's Ty. It's a lot of names that you've heard me and Grease talk about because they're some of our close friends. But they just get together and hang out, and it's fun. It's a fun conversation. So everyone should go check out Flannel Panel on YouTube and get to watching that and give Troy crap when his Ohio internet starts goofing up.
Oh, yeah, that reminds me. This morning in Utah, as I was getting ready to go to the airport, Utah lost all their power, so Jason couldn't make fun of my internet anymore since he didn't have electricity.
Yeah, the whole state had a blackout. I feel like Ohio gets a pass for the foreseeable future as far as Jason's concerned.
Oh yeah, I was just bad luck and brought it with me.
Who's to say, right? All right, buddy.
Yep.
I appreciate you calling me. I miss you. Can't wait to see your face in person, hopefully soon. And I'll be talking with you, I'm sure, soon in a text thread. So,
all right, well, take care.
All right. And I'm kind of upset because Preston has not called yet, and I directly called him out. So 270-612-2275 if you want to be on the show. Andrew West said Knob Creek 18 is his wish for this year. That I've been seeing some people get that, and I'm curious about it because I mean, I feel like that's going to be delicious, right? Like an older Knob Creek is not something you're going to turn your nose up at. I sometimes get from Knob Creek has more peanut, but sometimes Heaven Hill and Knob Creek both have some of that nuttiness together. And so I feel like it's going to be like a jazzed up Elijah Craig 18, and that makes me happy. So that's something I want to try soon. This is Ty. He said, hoping for a bottle crack with friends and make some memories. So that's a good thing on the wish list, but also he's really hoping his 2XO gets here sooner rather than later. We actually really enjoyed the 2XO. And we obviously we're biased because we're buddies of Dixon, or at least we like to think of ourselves as that. But, it really was good. It had, now that Dixon's not on here, it reminded me more of something out of Four Roses than it did. I don't know, like the Kentucky Owl line reminded me more of BTAC, like George T. Stagg, like big, bold, punch you in the jaw whiskey. And the 2XO reminded me more of like a Four Roses LE, where it's a little bit more delicate, a little bit more fruit, a little bit less of the leather and the aggressive, earthy, manly flavors that you kind of think of when you think of Kentucky Owl. So it's a departure from the flavor profile that you're used to from Dixon, but the craft and the experience that he has and the beauty of the whiskeys he makes, it really was something special. And for $99, I think it is, it's worth picking up. So Preston just called. I'm going to put him on the air. He says, suck it, I was busy. And so Preston, you're on the air.
Hey, Will, how are you, sir?
Good. Sorry to interrupt whatever you had going on, bud.
No worries. Yeah, like I said, hunting has not really been a big thing for me this year. I don't know. I just feel like it's maybe a little bit of burnout. I don't know what it is. But really kind of going back to the basics.
Yeah.
Man, just the stuff from Sagamore Rye has really been blowing my mind this year. The Starlight picks that I've seen from not only Oak and Thieves, shameless plug, but other folks out there. They're doing some great stuff. So, man, there's just so much good stuff on the shelf right now. It's kind of hard to go hunting for a lot of the harder to find stuff.
Right. Yeah, no, I feel the same way. We've been blessed with a bounty of whiskey and have always said we have more than we'll ever be able to drink. I've found myself pausing buying for the sake of buying whiskey. Just because I've got so much of it and I'll never go through it. I'm seeing though some holes in my like normal everyday things because I don't go back to refill, even just like normal stuff like Maker's Marker. I love the old Bardstown Bottled and Bond. I haven't had a bottle of that in a minute. And just things like that are easy, that don't cost a lot, and that you could even throw in a Coke or a cocktail and not like be concerned about it, you know? So but I see my focus kind of shifting back to like the everyday drinkers that are just fantastic, that are just sitting there.
Yeah, I've been doing the exact same thing. And I know the bottles that we can get that a lot of people can't. But things just like Old Granddad 114 and just a regular Buffalo Trace or a Rebel 100. I mean, just great, cheap, easy drinkers. Woodford Double Oak has always been a go-to. It's kind of going back to where I started and kind of reappreciating what got me into whiskey.
Have you had the Hogback from Oak and Thieves?
I have not yet.
Okay.
Grease has my bottle of it.
Oh, that checks out. It's I was curious because I know you like interesting things as well, and you were able to try the one that kind of set James' mind on fire at Whiskey Weekend, I believe. But did you watch Josh and Aaron on Stuff and Whiskey when they did a bunch of our samples?
No, I did not.
So everyone who's watching should go check that out. It's Stuff and Whiskey is the channel. They're actually local to Nashville. Aaron and Josh, they're really cool. Husband and wife couple that do a whiskey channel. And James sent them like a party pack of Oak and Thieves samples, and they did a blind tasting. And their commentary on the Hogback is fascinating for someone drinking it blind. And they really liked it. They thought it was fantastic. And they even said it had an effervescence to it almost, which I thought was interesting. So I'm curious, there's still some more of that, and people can join at oakandthieves.com. If you're in the holiday season, you're looking for something unique to try, and you're just burnt out on hunting, I just say, I mean, we added a $5 level just so people can get some bottles. We've got stock of like the Hogback and some of the Starlights, and so if you were to join now, there's even a $5 level. You can pick those up. It's fantastic, but it's you're looking for, and Preston can attest to this, that they're good bottles, and they're not overpriced, and they're available. So if you want to check that out, oakandthieves.com.
Absolutely. And B, I mean, I'm super excited for that Leaper Sport pick that's going to be coming out.
Yep.
That was one of the most fun I've had on a barrel pick, and I know it's going to be amazing. People are going to love it. But yeah, pick up barrel picks. You don't have to go after the crazy stuff every year.
Yep.
There's amazing stuff that people are putting out. So go check it out.
Well, my friend, I appreciate you calling in, and sorry for giving you a little bit of crap. I know that you were busy, so enjoy the rest of your Monday, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Absolutely, guys. Y'all too.
All right. That was Preston from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Good friend of the podcast. I'm going to go through a few more comments while some other calls come in. And I actually have a surprise that I'm going to do on the 15 tonight. I'll do a solo 15. It's been a minute since we've done one, because last week we had the Dixon show, and then week before we were off. So Jeremy Kane, who, by the way, is if you heard me and Grease talk about the a fishing trip when Grease and I talked about our respective vacations, Jeremy Kane is actually the man who made all the delicious food for us at the Delta Reservoir. So, Jeremy, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your support, buddy. He said, I have to get a bottle of Buffalo Trace so I can fulfill my friend's holiday wish list of bourbon braised applesauce. That sounds interesting. And I love that there's a food tie-in as well. I want to know more about that. And if I'm your friend that you're talking about and I don't know that, I'm totally fine with you sending me that. So Jeremy is a good friend, though. And that's that fishing trip we went on. It was so much like the whiskey community, just instantly having friends that are going to be friends for a long time. So I appreciate Jeremy watching and chiming in. Let's see who else we've got on here. This is Luke Cobb again. This is one I wanted to talk about. So he said, Will, if you're looking for a warm coffee chocolate winter hug, check out 13th Colony's new Double Oak cast strength drop at 135.3 proof. Now, anyone who's been around the podcast for a minute knows that I am a super fan of 13th Colony and what they're doing down there in Americus, Georgia. And when they they teased it a couple weeks ago, like something new's coming, and then they did a drop in, like the labels like black with like gold lettering, and it's gorgeous, and it's that same kind of like it almost looks like a raw bottle of birthday bourbon, because birthday bourbon's like the squat bottle with the skinny neck and it's rounded. This looks like that, but just a little bit more raw, because it has a little bit more not jagged edges, but more cornered edges instead of being rounded out. But I know they had it at the distillery, I believe, but Luke, if you could drop down, like, what do you know if it was released more than that? If so, I'm going to have to try to get someone local to hunt it for me at the distributor. But that was one that I'm like, I don't know if I've ever had so much FOMO about a distillery, even though I you get all the FOMO about, BTAC's dropping, Pappy's dropping, here's Julianne Van Winkle signing Ryes and everything. And it's like, okay, those are things I'm never going to get. But this is one I'm like, I feel like it was really potentially attainable, because it's not like they have this huge fan base, although they should. But then I'm like, it's going to be gone. I'll never see that. So Luke just said he will happily send me and Grease some samples, and he's in Georgia and it dropped this week. Hit me up offline, man. I won't turn that down. Now I'll send you something good in return to trade out on a sample. I think that'd be super fun. I currently have no calls up, but if you want to call in and talk on air, nothing's off limits. Like I said, if you want to talk about Whiskey Weekend, which is Grease and I's event that we hold in the spring each year, our 5th one is coming up here in Franklin, Tennessee, and we will be just having a blast. We're bringing it home. We've been in Kentucky for 4 years with it. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned, but if you have questions about that, call 270-612-2275. That's 270-612-2275. I'd be happy to answer some questions. And if you just know you want to go, you can go ahead and buy tickets. They're on sale. If you just go to whiskeytainment.com, I'm going to put that up right there. That's whiskeytainment.com. It's in the lower third graphic there. And if you're listening to this, it's just whiskey and then replace whiskey for the enter part of entertainment. Whiskeytainment.com. It's a direct link to the Eventbrite page, and you can go ahead and get tickets. There's 2 tiers. There's the VIP tier, which is almost sold out, but there's still some tickets available. And that's where we have a curated experience for you each day. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of Whiskey Weekend. It's in March 9th through 12th, I believe. And then on the flip side of that, there is the general admission, which is just the evening time entertainment, but you get to meet a lot of new people, have bottle shares and the like. So check it out, whiskeytainment.com, or call in if you're unsure of why you should go. And I'll convince you right here and now, live on the internet at 270-612-2275. That's 270-612-2275. And I need to put that banner back up because most people aren't writing that down. So check it out in the lower third. And let me read some comments. Luke Cobb said email address for info on address to send samples. Will@thepodcast.com. WILL at thepodcast.com. Gets right to me. So let's see what else we got here. We had some other people talking about things there. So this is Roger who called earlier. Said Knob Creek 12 is very available here and hard not to bunker if you saw an 18 today, but at $199 made it hard to pull the trigger. I tend to agree with that. It's 6 extra years, and I get that age stated 18-year stuff is going to be expensive these days. But $200 is still hard to pull the trigger on, especially on a Knob Creek product, right? Like, I feel like if I were just first blush without ever trying it and not even knowing any tasting notes, anything, just knowing what I know about Knob Creek, I'm sure it's fantastic, but I'm probably going to lean bar on that one. If it's $200 and it's Knob Creek, it's the same bottle. I don't know. That could just be psychology. It could be like the Booker's Rye that it's like, yeah, you should pay $300 for this because it's one and done, never going to happen again. And also, if you just hang on to it, you can sell it for like $7,000 or something like that. But that's not typically how I think. I think about what I'm buying so I can open it and drink it with people. So $200, I agree. It's hard one to pull the trigger on, especially for Knob Creek. When the 12 years are really available and $50. So we've got Robert Shea here. Midwinter's Night Dram Pack 10 Act 10 is my hope for this holiday. Would love to have a pour after I put my kid to bed Christmas Eve night. We love midwinters in this house. My wife's a big fan of it. So we have a mule in Utah that can get us a bottle typically every year, and we savor it with the fire in the cold in the winter when there's snow outside, and we enjoy it. I'm curious about the Encore Act, which is the special 10-year edition they did this year, and that's finished in a white port barrel, which I've had white port finished stuff, I think actually from High West. I think it was the just their double rye single barrel pick, and it was delicious. It was really, really good. But I love the regular midwinter so much, it would be really hard for me to, like, if they were right next to each other, I could only buy one. It'd be hard for me not to go with what I know and pick that up. So let's see what else is going on. Todd. Love Todd. So what's up, brother? He's drinking Detling Bourbon Bottle and Bond, Alabama's first bottle and bond bourbon, and it's a vanilla bomb. We need to do a review of that on the show because it's been really well received. I think Fred Minnick did like a really good review of it, but it's good whiskey. And they have a bottle and bond. I think they have a cask strength as well. It's a little pricey because it's a small organization, small operation, but it's their own stuff. So it's definitely going to be one. I don't know that Grease has ever had it. So I think it'd be super fun for us to do on the show and kind of dissect. And it kind of catches you off guard because you're not necessarily expecting that, right? Like you're not expecting something that's kind of a smaller distillery out of Alabama to end up, it's a control state. They got a lot of issues with manufacturing and distribution and stuff. But that's not what you're expecting to come out of Alabama. So I think it'd be a fun one. Maybe even the blind Grisons. Maybe I'll pick up a bottle. They're pretty widely available around here. They're not in every store, I think, because it's a little bit more expensive and not as much name recognition. But St. Goose, which is a liquor store in downtown Franklin, I know always has it on the shelf. I think Bottle Shop as well, which is in Franklin, typically has it. So I'm gonna have to pick a bottle up, and Grease and I will go ahead and get to it. So let's see. If you do want to call, I'm gonna shut down the calls here in a few. So 270-612-2275. Don't delay. No question off limits at this point. Zach said he just called that number and got Papa John's. Well, order us a pizza. We can split it together, but you must have transposed two numbers. Preston Hadcock said, Whiskey Weekend is the most fun you can have legally. And I agree with that to some degree. But I'm sure there's some nefarious activities going on that we don't sanction. So let's see. Jake Miller, this is a fun one. He says, any suggestions for A splurge bottle to get for Thanksgiving. Haven't had alcohol since New Year's Eve, and I have some funds. That's a good question. So, Jake, I need you to follow up with where you live, because I think that could, like, if you're in a control state, I think that may be maybe a little bit harder. But let me know what state you're in, and I'll try, and that'll also give me a minute to think about some stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna read this comment while I wait for Jake to go ahead and tell me where he's at. So this is from Dan Rudnick. He says, "Cracked my Dixon Deadman 2XO. Was surprised how vanilla forward it was. Almost seemed a cross between bourbon and light whiskey. Oaky, but more like fresh cut wood, like walking through Home Depot. It definitely is vanilla forward. I get a lot of fruit on it personally too. So I think it's definitely a unique experience." So Jake is in Ohio, and it is a control state. I know that sometimes the Ohio stores, though, I should have Troy call back in because he's our Ohio expert. I think you can get stuff shipped to Ohio, though. And since you're looking for a splurge bottle, I would go to something like Sealbox website, and it's you can order online. Online Sealbox. It's trying to give me to the hotel. Okay. Yeah. So here we go. It's just sealbox.com. SEELBACH. I'm going to put in my birthday. I'm over 21. And let's see if anything pops up immediately. One, I do think that 2XO could be interesting because I think people are going to be able to try to see that in some places where they're not used to seeing something just set. And because it's not as well known right now, I think it may not fly off every shelf. So I don't know. Oh, I would say I'm looking at what's on Sealbox, because sometimes it's easier to be like, you could go ahead and get something shipped and try it out that way, especially if it's not to get around the control state issues that you may have. I would definitely probably go with something cast strength, and I would go with, you can get, that actually could be fun. This is a shameless Oak and Thieves plug, but if you were to go to sealbox.com, and I think my internet isn't, but if you type in Oak and Thieves, so it will pull up some of the ones that we've made public facing that didn't sell out. And I would say get the 2 Starlights. I'd get 2 of them. Get the Double Oak Bourbon and the Double Oak Rye, and do a side by side. And that's that'd put you, one is they're both $64. So it's that plus shipping, $20. You're looking at $150, 2 bottles of whiskey that were picked by Grease and I, James and Bob. And one's a rye and one's a bourbon. I think they're both fantastic. So maybe that's something you look at. If not, I think maybe something like the Booker's releases are getting harder and harder to find. So maybe look for a Booker's, but I think in a control state, maybe you could find one. They're $100, and I think Booker's is really good whiskey. And if you're getting back in, you want to make a splash, right? You want something high proof. So I think those are my suggestions. Go to Sealbox and either peruse the website and look at something unique that you've not heard of, or search for Oak and Thieves and pick up the one of each, the Starlight Double Oak and the Starlight Double Oak Rye and Double Oak Bourbon. I don't think you'd be disappointed with those. So, and I will, Zach Jones, I'll take his word for it. It says Will and James have killer palates. So, Zach Jones did ask, is there any of the 1792 left? And I do believe it sold out today. So no, unfortunately, that one did not survive, but it is good. I love that bottle very much, very much. So indeed. All right, let's see. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and do a 15 and also do last call for calls. So 270-612-2275, 270-612-2275. If you want to talk to me on the show live, if not, once I'm done with the 15, if there's no calls in the queue, I will probably wrap up. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play a little music while I get my bottle ready. And then that's called going to the 15. So here we go. And we're back from the 15. Some say we never left. All right, folks. So this is what I'm doing here on the 15. And this is Panama City Beach's finest Big Gus Black Rye Bourbon. So if you are familiar with the Redneck Riviera, Panama City Beach, Florida, then you know about Angelo's Steakhouse. It has been there for as long as I've been alive. Let me see when Angelo's formally founded. It's actually Angelo's Steak Pit, sorry. And it is in Panama City Beach, and it was trying to see if they say when it was founded, because it's been there, literally it's been there my entire life. And they have this big giant statue of a bull out front, and his name is Gus. And I've been going there since I was a kid. I haven't been there in a long time, but my buddy Logan, who you've heard on the show in eons past, and we'll have to have him back on soon. He was down there, and they went as a family to Angelo's Steak Pit. And they were very excited that they have their own whiskey now. And I see that Ty is calling me. I'm going to get to him in a minute. So just hold on. But I'll take it as I'm getting into this whiskey. But this is, Logan brought me back two 375s of Big Gus Black Rye Bourbon. This is 100 proof. And it's distilled and bottled by Timber Creek Distilling in Crestview, Florida. Aged a minimum of 2 years. It's got this proudly distilled in Florida faux tax stamp on it. So, hey, if you're one of your childhood restaurants gets their own private label bourbon, you got to try it, right? And they also have a barrel proof, but I'm going to wait for Grease to open that one. So I'm going to open the 100 proof one here. That was a kind of a weak cork pop. That's okay. So I'm going to pour it up, and then I'm going to take Ty's call and let you know what I think of Big Gus Black Rye Bourbon. But while I'm at it, the Magic Man is on the line. Hello, Magic Man.
What's up, Will? How you doing?
I'm good. What are you up to this evening?
Oh, just watching some podcast live.
I love it. I love it. Did you see that our buddy Jeremy was watching?
I did. I tried to get him to call in and mess with you, but he was too nice.
Yeah, it's probably for the best, because there's no telling what he would have said on the internet. And, there's a certain level of liability that I have to, especially when it's just me, I can't pawn it off on like, Grease, press the button. So.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I was trying to get in before you started the 15 and didn't press send fast enough. So,
It's all good. What's up, though? What you got? A question, comment? What's going on?
I I got a question because I know you guys have done some epic kind of holiday get-togethers in the past. Do you guys have anything planned? Maybe I'm hoping for another bar night or something, but I know there's been some of those. So do you have anything coming up you're excited about?
Oh, that's interesting. So, well, one, I do have a group of friends that we do a Christmas Advent over the internet together. You may or may not know about that. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't necessarily have anything scheduled in person yet, but I think maybe a holiday bar night could be good. At some point, we need to bring back the Christmas Bourbon Palooza, right? Because that was just a lot of fun. So for those of you that are maybe newer to the podcast and don't remember that, go back in our podcast feed and find Christmas Bourbon Palooza. We did it 2 years in a row. And the first year was just for fun. The second year we raised money, and it was a lot of fun. And just, we brought a bunch of bottles as me, Joe B, Chris, and Grease. And we brought bottles to kind of do competition as though it were a barn night, but everyone kind of participated, and then we'd reveal what people were drinking, and it got some highbrow pours going on.
I was going to say there's some heavy hitters that showed up in those lineups.
And I believe, were you responsible for the Old Fitzgerald that Chris had that one year?
I believe so. Yeah, the one old glass decanter one.
Yep.
I know I traded one or two of those with Chris at one point a long time ago. So
that was some old Stitzel-Weller juice. And I ended up with a decanter that was via you, but it was a Ducks Unlimited. I think it was Cabin Still, and it was like 90 proof Stitzel. And it was, I'm real hit or miss on Dusty's, but it was one of the best whiskeys I've ever had. So
that was the one you guys did with Paul Steele, wasn't it?
No, that was not that one. I just opened this at the house with Chase.
All right.
Yeah.
I thought you had.
Maybe I did take.
Anyway, yeah.
Maybe I did take some to his house. I'd have to ask. I'd have to ask Kevin Hasselwander.
Yeah, I was going to say we need the historian to weigh in on this one.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
That's funny. Sure. Yeah, I've got one more of those left at one point, so that'll be fun to open.
Yeah. Did you open any of them that you had? Because you got.
Yeah, I brought one of the Weller Special Reserve one to, I think it was batch 2 Whiskey Weekend.
Yep. Yeah, I do remember that.
So yeah,
those were
cool, man.
Pretty
special. I just
special.
wanted to check in and see if you had any fun plans scheduled for the holidays. So
I feel like, and this is probably accurate for a lot of people, I feel like they snuck up on me this year. So been quite it's hard to believe it's November. It's also like 75 degrees here still. So it's hard to believe it's November. But
yeah, it doesn't feel right. 75 degrees. We got snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not fun. All right, man. Thank you so much for calling.
All right, man. Hey, tell us what you think of that whiskey.
Yeah, I'm going to get to it. All right. The Big Gus. Bye, Ty. All right. So back to the 15 whiskey. This is Big Gus Black Rye Bourbon, 50% ABV, 100 proof. Minimum of 2 years, from Timber Creek Distilling out of Crestview, Florida, and private labeled for Angelo's Steak Pit in Panama City Beach, Florida. So on the nose, get some grain notes, not terrible. Actually has a little bit of a tequila nose to it. So a little bit of pepper, a little bit of like agave sweetness. Definitely smells like younger bourbon, but it's not a bad grainy aroma. It's like I said, it's got a little bit of tequila in this. That, like, if I were blind tasting this, and honestly, because of the color, like if I were looking at the color, I'd be like, oh, it's like a añejo like tequila, but it definitely has some of that pepper, some of that agave sweetness. And it says it's a blend of straight bourbon, rye, and barley whiskeys. So it is a 3 whiskey blend, apparently, but it says black rye bourbon. So we'll find out if that is, maybe I won't find out, but I don't know if they label it appropriately, if they're saying straight bourbon, rye, and barley whiskeys, or is it just a traditional mash bill? Maybe mislabeled, but here we go. Diving in. There's nothing wrong with this. It's young, but it kind of tastes like tequila. It's got some pepper to it. The flavor of the grains isn't bad. 100 proof. It's got a little bit of pop of alcohol because it's younger, but it's really not bad. It's not bad. I think it's pretty. I think the 375 for the 100 proof, I think it was around $30. So $60 bottle of 2-year whiskey. For the novelty of it, if you're a PCB boy, Redneck Riviera, your whole life, then maybe worth picking up. I don't know that it's something you have to rush out to get. Maybe get a pour of it at Angelo's Steak Pit and reminisce about, getting a ladies cut filet, the smaller filet. Steakhouses don't really call it that anymore, but they still do. It could be a fun thing. There is nothing wrong with it. It's not fantastic. I'm curious what the barrel proof tastes like. I did watch a video of them talking about it on the website, and you can go to Angelo's Steak Pit's website. They say something to the effect of like you can almost drink it on the rocks, like that they're selling it like it's real good. Like they say, like, man, some people from Kentucky came in here and they didn't think it was bad. Like they're not selling it as like this wonderful thing. They're literally like, I mean, it ain't terrible, and some people drank it once, and you can almost have it on the rocks. Not quite. Like you still need to mix it with something, but you almost drink it on the rocks. So that's kind of funny to watch. You can go to their website and check it out. This is a novelty. I think it's fun. I love that it has the giant bull on the front, and for Big Gus, I'll look forward to drinking the barrel proof with Grease and seeing what he thinks. But honestly, it's not terrible. It's not disgusting. Like, there are young whiskeys. There are 2-year whiskeys that are terrible, especially that are private labeled for restaurants, right? Made in Florida. Like, it's got a lot of things stacked against it as far as creating a quality bourbon goes, and it's not very bad. I'm giving it some credit. It reminds me of tequila. Like, it's I don't know why I'm getting such a prevalent tequila flavor on it. So it's really not bad. It's not something you have to have, but surprisingly not a terrible whiskey. It's pretty one-dimensional. Pepper, agave sweetness, not a ton of barrel influence, a hint of the char. So you're getting just kind of that base level char flavor. But yeah, not terrible. So then let's see. We got a few other comments I'm going to go to. Oh, buy bar pass on this bar. Go to Angelo's Steak Pit and have a and at Angelo's you have to order one down with your steak of what you normally would. So if it's like you get well done, it's actually burnt. Medium is like medium well. So it's interesting old school Panama City Beach steakhouse. So I'd say bar if you're in the area, try it. Not terrible. I'm actually impressed that it's not bad. So let's see a couple of these comments and then I'm going to head out. So Dan Rudnick is sipping on Hogback Eclipse cast strength rye aged in rum barrels as advertised. It's a mix of floral notes and toffee. Definitely interesting, trying to decide if I like the blend of flavors. I actually got to try one of those at the Taylor Reservoir when I was with Ty and Jeremy. It's delicious. and really enjoyed. I really actually enjoyed it. I liked the rye and the rum mingling, and I like what Hogback's doing. So, and they're also super high proof. Dan, let me know in the comment how high proof that one is, because the one we had was like 140, I think, at the reservoir. So, Luke says, you ain't a man unless you've experienced Angelo's 32-ounce T-bone and devoured it. Luke is my people. He's talking about 13th Colony rye and their special release bourbon, and he's talking about Angelo's 32-ounce T-bone. So he knows what's up. So Luke, I'm mainly only speaking to you when I say, hey, if you're down there, maybe ask for a pour or need. It probably can't cost too much. Joe Barnes, good buddy here locally, says, I'm asking Santa for a case of rare breed rye and a 6-pound can of Luxardo cherries. Thanks, Will. I'm not Santa, so I won't bring you that. But yeah, I hope you get it, because that sounds like kind of my kind of Christmas. And then Jeremy, this is exactly why I'm glad he didn't call in, because he's asking Santa for, I'm not going to read it. So that was fun. Thanks, Jeremy. Hope you had a good night. Thanks for watching. All right, folks, thank you so much. And thanks to those of you that did call in. It was fun. I enjoy doing these. I'm going to do them more often. And so if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up on this video. It helps it get served later, but just go ahead and subscribe. Or if you're listening, subscribe to the podcast feed. Also, if you're interested in Whiskey Weekend here in Franklin, Tennessee, it's March 9th through 12th. Either the VIP experience, which is days filled with Will and Grease and whiskey, or just the general admission, nighttime admission. Those tickets are available now. You can go to whiskeytainment.com and you can buy a ticket. March 9th through 12th, I believe, is the dates, somewhere in there. But it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then people depart on Sunday. So check that out. Whiskeytainment.com for Whiskey Weekend Batch 5 coming home. We're calling it the homecoming batch. And then if you want to join our barrel program, our private club of barrels and such, go ahead and check out oakandthieves.com, where we've paused payments for November, but I don't know if you sign up now, if it charges you. There's like a weird thing, but if I see some come in, I can click refund and you'll still have the month free. We paused the payments because we wanted to encourage people to go buy some of the great bottles that we have available that are still available, because we're trying to clear some inventory before the end of the year. So oakandthieves.com, we've got some really good ones still available. There's a Penelope blend that James did. He did the heavy lifting on it, and then we all weighed in, and he did several different ones, and we tweaked it and got it where it needed to be. But it's fantastic. It's called Elegance. It's got a picture of Grace Kelly on this sticker. One of the most elegant people to ever live. So check that out. That's available now through Sealbox, but go through oakandthieves.com to find the links and all those things. And that's going to do it for this week on the podcast. Thank you so much for joining in for just me tonight. I appreciate it. And I appreciate those of you that called in to help me get through, so it wasn't just me talking at the screen for an hour. I really appreciate you all. And I'll sign off the way we always do. We don't know Jack, but we'll drink it. Talk to you next week.